Hello, and welcome to the DoneJS contributors meeting, December 9th, 2016. Let's get started and go through everyone's status. We'll start on the left alphabetically. So Adam, do you want to start us off?
We are just in the process of deploying our Bitcentive MVP. We finally got it all kind of cleaned up. One thing we are lacking is there's a little problem with server-side rendering and authentication that still needs to be dealt with. So you kind of get this flash of you're rendered not authenticated, and then it switches to authenticated. So you'll things will suddenly appear that you couldn't have seen before. It's a small problem, but one we still need to work out. But other than that, I'd say the MVP is done, and we're just waiting for Travis so we can deploy. Travis is having no troubles today, but as soon as that fixes, we'll deploy that.
Is that something that's going to be publicly on the old public web for viewing?
No. Well, I mean, technically yes, but you can't view anything other than the explanation of what it is page, unless you're logged in or whatever.
Something though.
It's something. But I mean, the repo will be up, and you could clone the repo, put it up on your own server, and then be fine. So yeah.
Source project, yeah.
Exactly.
Cool, thanks, Adam. I think I'm next. So this past week, Bitovi had their retreat this week, so I only got a few things done. On Tuesday, I conducted usability sessions with 3 developers. They were 2.5-hour sessions where I did a little preliminary interview to get their background experience with JavaScript and different frameworks and what have you. And then I let them just go to the CanJS.com website and browse around and see what they were interested in, while kind of vocalizing what was going on in their minds as they were kind of going through the different pages. And then I had them go through either the chat or the to-do MVC guide. Same thing, got their feedback and had them actually do the coding through JSPin or however they wanted to code it. And then did a exit interview of what their overall thoughts of the framework and site and stuff. So, so now I am going through all of the data I collected and filing issues. So I posted a link to the epic that contains all of the issues that I'm creating. And it's still gonna take me most of today and maybe a little bit on Monday to finish going through everything. So next week I'll be starting to work on those issues, and then we will actually be announcing CanJS 3 next Tuesday, barring any natural disaster. So so that's my status. Elia, you want to go? Hey, Elia, your audio isn't working if you are saying anything. Yeah, still nothing. We're gonna move on and we'll come back to you. Julian, do you have anything?
No, this week not, so we can skip.
Okay, sounds good. Matthew?
Yeah, so this week I've been working on testing for still 1.0. We got Sauce Labs set up so that we're testing now in Firefox, Chrome, Edge, Safari, and IE9 through 11, and an iPhone or iOS Safari as well. So we get really awesome test coverage now.
Sweet.
Got that all set up. I've merged still into master. So that's kind of what I'm going through now, is merging all the different repos over to master, so that we'll just work out of master now. Plan on releasing Monday or Tuesday, hopefully. There's been a Travis issue. Well, it's not really a Travis issue, but basically any Node.js based project is not able to go through CI right now. So I'm sure there's millions of projects experiencing this, so it's kind of blocking me a little bit. So yeah, I hope to get everything merged maybe today. We'll see, and then yeah, take it from there. I'm also looking into the CanCompile issue that someone was experiencing. The good news is I don't think what Kevin did So backstory is that CanCompile is a tool for Browserify users, I believe, primarily, to compile their templates, and it points to CanJS.com, and when we switched the site over, it messed all that up, and Kevin fixed it this week. He put the releases back on the site. But there's at least one person who's still experiencing some issues, and what I discovered just like in the last 10 minutes of looking is that the release folder is out there. It is on the web. It just happens to be this one particular file, this CanView mustache file, that's missing. I don't think it's all of them. I'll check that, but it's only this one. And from looking at it, it looks like that file never existed as far as I can tell. But yeah, I've only done like 10 minutes of initial research, so I'll see if I can find out any more, and at least post my findings there, if nothing else.
Cool. Thanks for looking into that, Matthew.
Yep, no problem.
Anything else?
No, not for me.
Cool. Oh, bye.
Yeah, so this week I had some client work to do on Monday and a little bit on Tuesday, and then work on finishing the payout calculations component for Bitcentive. So we're just now waiting for Travis to pass, and then we should be able to push deployment out. And then next week we'll be working a little bit on the client work again, and then continue working on Bitcentive and finish it off. That's it.
Cool. Sounds good. Ilya, is your microphone working? Nope, it's still working. If you want to just like join us in the other room, if you're around, we can do it that way. Marshall, you want to go?
Yeah. So, well, my phone just did something very weird. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, just like when it went totally blank. So, okay, so this last week I updated like StillSocket.io. Like Ilya and I teamed up to updated StillSocket.io and CanFixture Socket to support some attributes and methods that are on like actual Socket.io sockets that Feather's authentication needs in order to do, in order to handle login, logout type stuff. So we got that updated, and then updated Bitcentive with those changes so that the login and logout flows work. So that's running now. And then also I did a workaround for the error, for like the authentication error that I mentioned last week, that was where Steal is, or what is it? Anyway, something is rethrowing errors at some point, like errored promises. So I did a workaround for that to get that error out of there. The rethrowing is still happening. And then for the coming week, I'll be working on fully integrating CanConnect Feathers into the CanJS ecosystem part, and I need to refactor the tests to run with CanFixture Socket, and while at the same time keeping the integration tests, because it fires up a Feather server right now, and it needs to not fire up a Feather server in order to integrate properly into the ecosystem. So that's my coming up work for the next week.
Cool. Awesome. The CanJS and Feathers being an ecosystem will be really cool.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. Finally.
Woo. Okay. I think, oh, Ilya, is your...
You're going to use my mic, just talking to it like this.
Okay, sounds good.
So basically, nothing more to add. So was working with guys on Bitcentive and with Marshall improving StillSocket.io and CanFixture sockets. That's it to me.
Cool. Sounds good. All right, so let's go through some topics. Was I the only one who posted topics? Did anyone else post topics?
I think Beno did, but he's not here, so we can probably do his next time he is here.
Yeah, okay, sounds good. Yeah, okay. So some of the topics that I wanted to talk about are, so first off, the CanJS, SteelJS, and DoneJS release schedule. So Matthew, this goes back to what you were talking about earlier about Steel 1.0 being out the door Monday or Tuesday. I wanted to talk about that because I think it would be better for us to wait for a Steel 1.0 release until the week, maybe the week after we do CanJS, just because we are I want all of our attention to be focused on CanJS, and we're still going to need to just double check that the things that we have set up for CanJS 3 are working with Steel 1 correctly through like the guides and stuff. And I personally would like to be able to go through the Steel website before we have the Steel 1.0 release and before we're drawing attention to the new site. So I wanted to bring that up as a topic of conversation and get Matthew and everyone else's feedback. Does anyone have an opinion?
Is he out? Yeah, I think he's trying again.
Okay.
Hey.
Oh, I just realized that he froze up.
I think it's... Are you there, Matthew?
I'm here now. Can you hear me? No?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah,
Okay. If you asked any questions of me, I did not hear them. You know?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Let me repeat that real quick. So I was saying that I think we should wait a week before the Steel 1.0 release. One of the reasons, like me personally with what I'm doing, I want to be able to go through the Steel website before we announce it, instead of announcing it and then me playing catch up to like go through the docs and just be able to double check everything. And also like next week with releasing CanJS 3, I want that to be our focus and be the center of our attention. And also anything that we have prepared for CanJS 3, I know it'll work fine with Steel 1, but updating those things and making sure that we're using the latest version of Steel and in any of our docs or code, I think will be really helpful. I'm specifically thinking of the setting up CanJS guide, but I'm sure there are other things too that I'm not thinking of. So I wanted to bring that up as a topic. Instead of releasing Steel 1 next week on Monday or Tuesday, maybe waiting a week or waiting until the following week to release it. So Matthew, what do you think of that, and anyone else? Kind of yay or nay on that?
Well, what do you think about? I mean, yeah. If you think that's better, we can wait another week. I don't know if we should wait very much longer than that, though, just because Steel 1.0 is like, you know, a very long overdue thing. What do you think about like the way CanJS did it, where we released CanJS to NPM, but you know, as of now we still haven't like written an article. Like I wasn't planning on releasing an article next week. Just so we're clear. All I was trying to do is NPM publish.
Gotcha. Okay.
Relieve some of your fears, or?
Yeah, I still like it, if it had been if I had a say in when we released CanJS 3 to NPM versus when we announced it and published the site, I would have done that all together instead of having this awkward 3 or 4 week period where the code's released but the website wasn't updated, or we didn't announce it and we're making changes that we're not really talking about publicly. But I would say that we would want to release Steel 1 like immediately the week after. So maybe December like 19th or 20th. So a week, I don't think it's a really big deal if you end up publishing the 1.0 to NPM then. But I think it would just be nice to go through the site and then have that next week be the Steel week, if you know what I mean.
If any of the CanJS website examples are using Steel, like they say anything, then you probably want to have a release of Steel because you don't want to have to release. You don't want to have the guide say something like using a pre-version. You probably just want them to like npm install Steel, use that, and have everything work correctly, right? So.
Yeah, that's true. And everything, I don't know. I'd actually have to go through the site to see if we, other than the setting up CanJS page, if we do anything, if we say anything related to.
Yeah, presumably there wouldn't be a lot, like, because it's not like Steel is required to use Can, but I just, if our docs say anything about it.
Yeah, my only real concern with this idea is that just when it happens to be, is that like the following Monday, the 19th, that's like the week before Christmas, you know. I'm actually taking Thursday and Friday off. Yeah, the only thing that concerns me there is if I release 1.0 and there are problems that I won't be around to fix them.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay.
We can talk. I mean, we can talk next week.
Okay. If anything, like even if we just do it a couple days later, that would be nice.
Okay.
Okay, cool. And
so
then,
what about on CanJS? Did we have CanJS tests that have to rewrite to Steel 1.0, for example, that less stuff or that Steel stash stuff that you need a plug-in configuration? Do you have to rewrite our tests in some other repos or in the whole repos, maybe?
I'm not sure if there's any tests that need to be rewritten because for CanJS there's really only Steel Stash, the Stash plugin, and its own tests do not need to use the plugin's configuration. Yeah, I'm not sure if there's any CanJS tests that use like less. There might be, but yeah, we would want to update the documentation for Steel Stash to say if you're using for 1.0 to say. And I'm not sure how we do that, you know. Well, I guess yeah. I think we can do this. It's not too much.
Maybe can we have a? I think about that. Can we have a Steel version that implement our Steel Stash internally? So we make another build, for example, Steel 1.0 and Steel 1.0 with Steel Stash included. Is that
we don't have
a good idea?
CSS. We don't have CSS or less included. You know.
Yeah, but for the tests or for demos, maybe it's a good idea to have an included build with Steel, all the stuff. Or do you think not a good idea?
Well, for like demo, if you mean like JS bins and that kind of thing, you typically don't load external files. You know what I mean? So. I don't think you would ever really use Steel Stash in like a demo situation.
Okay.
Could be wrong, but yeah, plugins should be plugins, you know. It's kind of my feeling on it.
Okay.
It's the trouble with what we're doing is we are like making it just a tad bit of migration difficulty, but I think it'll be all right.
All right.
cool. Okay. So like, it sounds good to me that our plan would be, Matthew, whenever you want to release the code to npm, that's your prerogative. And then we can either publish the release announcement like Thursday or Friday of next week, or like that Monday, a week from Monday. Does that sound okay?
Yeah, I don't have any problem with it.
Cool. And then I just kind of want to bring up, because I'm not aware of the amount of effort that's going to go into DoneJS 1, because we'll have CanJS 3 and Steel 1 out the door. If there were any ideas of what our schedule looks like for being able to get DoneJS 1 out the door. Maybe this is a question for Matthew. or anyone else who is kind of aware of what we're gonna have to accomplish for Done 1?
So they're already, I worked, so CAN 3.0 has been going on since like last May or something like that, or even older than that, actually. I think it was like last February, actually. A long time. Yeah, like around last May, it was kind of in I don't know, it was in a pre-state, like around last May. So I updated all the DoneJS projects to be compatible with CAN 3. Now that was back in May, and a lot has changed since then, you know. So I don't know to the extent with which things are currently broken with those particular branches, but there are already pre-releases. There already is a pre-release version that works, that theoretically could work. But yeah, someone has to put the effort into changing the versions, you know, making sure it works. And yeah, I haven't looked at the DoneJS epic, so I'm not sure if there's anything else that we plan on adding. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what all is going to be involved. Hopefully it's, I mean, I think we planned on it being a much smaller project than, like, you know, the new version of CAN.
What about the DoneJS generator? Maybe it's a part of 1.0?
The generator is part of is already part of DoneJS, right?
Yeah, but the new generators for different styles and different code and different.
You're talking about the thing that Kevin's been working on? Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I think you're right.
This could be a feature for DoneJS 1.0 maybe. So
yeah,
Kevin is working on it.
More customizable. Yeah.
Are those? Would we have to release that as part of 1.0? Like, would those things be breaking changes after that?
I don't think they would be breaking. As far as like strict Simver, I don't think you would have to. Yeah, it would just be a matter of, like, do we want to have some feature to show off for 1.0? I don't know.
Yeah, I worry that the longer that we have CanJS 3 and Steel 1 released, and we don't have a 1.0 of DoneJS. I don't know. It just seems like a really awkward situation to be in.
For DoneJS users,
yeah, use DoneJS, but it's old things. Like, you get old stuff. Until the 1.0
this is a problem a lot of people experience. I think this is not totally uncommon for that to happen. It's very hard to release a lot of projects at one time.
Yeah.
So Matthew, what about the DoneJS server-side rendering? How's the status? Do you know it about what's the status about DoneJS server-side rendering 1.0? Is it working with Steel 1.0? Is it working with CanJS?
Yeah, so the most recent news I have about that is, like I said, I updated all of them like back in May.
Okay.
I mean, the status is, I think it points to the pre-release versions of CanJS. I know that the Bitcentive project is using, like, all the DoneJS pre stuff, right? Aren't you guys using all of that? You're using CAN 3.0, right? Yeah. So you're using Done component pre something or other, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah.
You're using Steel 1.0, or is it you're using Steel 0.16?
0.16.
Steel, no, in Bitcentive we're using Steel RC2.
Okay. Yeah.
Cool.
So yeah, we have at least one example of where it is working. But it had to be, you know, they had to manually update everything. It's not a fresh project the way that it will be.
Okay.
So yeah, it works. I did update. Done SSR had, you know, quite a bit of changes needed to make that work.
Cool. Anything else related to our releases, our upcoming releases?
No, it'll be nice once we get all this out. I think we'll be able to get back to more, like, you know, adding features and whatnot and making things better.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. Okay. The second topic I wanted to bring up was related to CanCompile. Just a brief summary of that issue again. So CanCompile has code that goes to CanJS.com to get whatever version of Can is required to that the user is using to compile stash templates. So if a user is compiling 2.3.7 stash templates, it goes to CanJS.com and fetches CanJS 2.3.7 and then uses that to compile the stash templates. So that my understanding is that like it creates the renderer function that can be used with other loaders like Browserify. So this is terrible because on production systems, they're relying on being able to go to CanJS.com, and with our website transition, we haven't managed the release folder very well. So those URLs have been 404ing. So yeah, big issue. And what I wanted to bring up is like we're trying to make sure that the release folder is there and it shouldn't be overwritten or removed again. But kind of longer term, we will need to, like longer term, CanCompile probably shouldn't go fetch the
well, I don't know if that's necessarily. I don't know if that's true though, because look at the issue that Travis is experiencing right now, where they're doing the same thing. They're getting a node release from Node.js.org, but Node.js.org's website is having issues. So I think it's not uncommon to grab from a CDN necessarily.
Yeah, so we can continue to do that, but I can't help but wonder if we should do, like, if we continue to do that, I feel like we need to make that a configurable option. So if people want to use their own paths or use their own CDN, then they have the option to do that. So like that's one idea. Or I don't know if I'm not familiar enough with CanCompile to understand whether if we wanted to move the release versions into the project, would we actually have to have every single version of CanJS or whatever the dependencies are? Or could we bring in like the latest CanJS 2.3 point whatever to compile anything for the 2.3 series? So we'd only have to have the...
Well, if someone wants version 2.3.16 specifically, we need to have that. You know what I mean? Like we need to have all of them.
Yeah, but should they? Like what? Should there ever be?
Hopefully not, but people can pin to specific versions. You're allowed to do that. I mean, maybe there's a bug. Maybe there was a bug in 2.3.16, and they depend on that bug, and we fix that bug, and they can't upgrade because they depend on the bug. It's possible for sure.
Yeah, it's possible, but it feels like we should be giving we should have a better story than, oh, you need to stay on your old broken version because of a bug.
Well, no, yeah, I'm not saying that. I mean, I agree that it should be configurable, and you should be able to, like, if you have can whatever installed in your own npm, like we should just use that rather than going to the CDN. I think that would be a great addition. I don't think we could like totally abandon it, like even forgetting the argument of whether it's good or not. Like I don't think we could abandon it just from the perspective that we didn't used to publish the npm. So if people are on 2.0.1, that was never published in npm. So like we wouldn't be able to provide that using if we like switch to npm as the method.
Sure.
But yeah, we definitely like as far as like making it configurable or having like some type of fallback. I think that's definitely a good thing. I think we should try to find, like we've had people posting in the CanCompile. We should ask if somebody wants to be the maintainer of that. Because I don't know. I'm not a Browserify user. If one of them wanted to take over, that would be awesome. should definitely try to invite someone to do that.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Does anyone else have any input on this?
Nope.
Okay.
People don't want to talk about Browserify. We're not Browserify users.
Okay, cool. And then the last thing that I wanted to bring up is I mentioned during stand-up that I'm filing a bunch of issues related to the UX testing sessions that I had on Tuesday. They were extremely insightful into into issues new users have when going to our new website. So I'm in the process of filing all those issues, and I would really appreciate it. Maybe I'll send a link out later or something, but as you guys see the the issues I'm filing, I'm really interested in everybody's input into some of the suggested solutions that I'm making. Like a good example of that is right now, if you go to CanJS.com, on the homepage, we list all of the collections. Or all of the modules under collections. So we have the core collection and all of its modules, infrastructure, ecosystem, and legacy. And then we have some description of what the CAN package is with all of the versions that make up the any particular like version of CanJS. All of this is like super daunting to new users if they scroll that far and they see all of our specific terminology for like can compute or can stash findings. Just kind of seeing those are all seeing all of those things.
Overwhelming?
Yeah, it's overwhelming and confusing because there's just so much, and it makes the I think in the issue that I filed for this, I said it makes the framework look monolithic because it just has so many APIs. So when you're just going to the site for the first time, that's daunting.
How many users did you test?
3. So we had 3 developers ranging from like 2 to 3 professional years of web development experience to the CTO of a company here in Chicago.
Cool.
Yeah. So we got a little bit of a range of kind of from someone who is familiar with jQuery and web development but has never used a framework like CanJS or Angular to on the higher side, or on the other side is someone who's a diehard React user, and she uses React for everything.
Yeah.
So anyway, I didn't necessarily mean to bring this up as like starting to discuss all those points, but as you see those issues, I'm really interested if anyone else has feedback and thinks, kind of identifies. Yeah, sorry.
What kind of feedback are you looking for? Because I mean, like the one you just described, like that sounds reasonable to me. I agree. I could see how that would be the case. Is that just what the kind of feedback you want? Is whether we agree with it? I always have a hard time putting myself in someone else's shoes to know like what do other people feel? I don't know.
Yeah, I guess what I mean is like the +1s are useful of saying, yeah, this actually sounds like a good idea. But also if, I'm coming from the perspective of going through the testing with them, and I don't have as much information as everything that got us to where we are today with the site. So if I'm suggesting things that feel like are going to not be in our best interests, or is you know, if there's something that you see that you think is a problem with a change, then I'm just open to the feedback. So that's why I'm bringing it up.
Okay. Is there like a tag or something you're using that would be good if not, because that way it'd be easier to. Because I saw that you did 1 million of them, and I looked at like a couple of them, but I didn't go through all of them.
Yeah, there's not a tag, but there is an epic.
Okay.
So you can go through, and I'll post the link again
Okay.
on the forums. But there's an epic for all of the issues that I'm filing.
Awesome.
Cool. Did anyone have any input on that, or want to ask any questions? Or
what I like to have on if I start reading for a new framework, or if I start testing a new framework, what I like to have is videos, because I'm lazy to read all the stuff and it's all overwhelming sometimes. You're right. So I would like to have some videos on YouTube or whatever, and that they are showing the basics. So they are explaining how you handle that overwhelming stuff for different packages, and what you can do with the information on the homepage. So maybe it's a good idea to guide the user with a video to understand how the website is working and how he can find information or read the documentation for methods or other stuff. So maybe it's a good idea to have 2 or 3 videos with that to explain how we are thinking and how we are do the stuff.
Yes.
Maybe
oh, sorry to interrupt. So that's kind of related to one of the issues I've already filed, which is under the guide section, there's an API guide page under commitment, and everyone, basically everyone was going there to find out about, to like get a list of all of the APIs. And what that page actually is information about how the modules are documented. It's like a guide to the API pages and how things are structured and how the information is organized and that sort of thing, which is confusing to, or which was confusing to people who are trying to find the APIs, and it didn't make sense, or they didn't understand that the APIs were listed under the core infrastructure, ecosystem, and legacy links. So kind of related to that is like my personal feeling about having a page or a video that you go to learn about how to use a website is, if the website is that confusing, then the website needs fixing. There shouldn't be a guide to how to use a website that, or I don't think for our websites, users shouldn't have to read or watch a manual to learn how to use it.
Yeah, you're right.
Well, yeah, go ahead, Julian.
No, yeah, it sounds confusing that you have to look a video to understand our website. You're right, but maybe we have to not make a video about the websites. Basically, we have to make a video about the modules. I personally like the idea for having split out our modules in different repos, but you have to understand the process and as a user, and you have to understand what modules you are needed for different parts, and that's a little bit tricky sometimes if you are new for the framework. So that's a part I like to have on the website or on a video, how to handle that overwhelming repo structure and what you are needing and what you are getting if you use a module. And you're right. I think we have to fix, maybe if the user is confusing about the website and is not finding the guides or the documentation, we have to fix that. And maybe less is more. Less text is more than having overwhelming the overwhelming text for describing APIs or guides. Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on having video contents. I think that's like as many ways as we can play to how people learn. Like we want to be able to support different people's learning styles. So like I totally agree that videos would be helpful. And I haven't been able to. It just hasn't been at the top of my list yet. But I would really like us to work with tutorial courses like .io or Lynda or whatever other like video tutorial sites there are to get content for the DoneJS projects. So I totally agree with you on that.
I've kind of a meta question surrounding this. So wonder, I feel like there's not a good answer to this, but if people are saying that basically we should make kind of biggish changes almost, like changing the homepage. I mean, it's not gigantic, but it's not insignificant either. How do you, what can we learn about how could we have done this process better? Like, should we have done user feedback like way earlier in the process? I think that could possibly have saved us some work that we didn't need to do. But at the same time, do you want to get user feedback for something that's unfinished? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think there's a hard balance there.
Yeah, I think our timing was just a little bit off on this. We should have started user testing like a month ago or a month before we were actually going to release. I think that would have given us some insight into how we should structure things. But like, regardless, we had a vision for what we think the website should look like, and I don't know how you have to make you have to make it to be able to like really start getting feedback. I feel like documentation sites like this, the meat of it is in what the actual writing is or the guides or whatever. So unlike developing new features where designers can kind of prototype the site and get feedback earlier before it's actually implemented, like the prototype has to be the actual implementation for documentation. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So like lessons learned from how we can avoid this in the future, like as we update stuff for like DoneJS 1.0, we'll want to try and get user feedback before we actually release, so that we're not making those changes, making as big of changes after we release. But it's tough, right? Like we're trying to get stuff out the door as quickly as possible.
Where do you get the user feedback in the future? Do you have or where do you get users to get the feedback for the site? Do you have a plan for that?
Like how do we get users? Like where do we get the users from? Yeah. So Justin had a list that I worked off of to get the 3 people that came on Tuesday. I am not 100% sure where that came from. I think some of them were people who had gone to meetups, to like a CanJS meetup or DoneJS or what have you. But not all of them seem to have any idea at all about CanJS. So I'm not 100% sure. Going forward, I would expect us to do similar things. So if I give a talk about module loading, and maybe it's not even specific to CanJS, like getting people who would be interested in learning more about our technologies, getting their information to be able to do user testing in the future is probably one of the ways that we'll get people. I'll talk to Justin about that, and it's something that I will continue to do. So we'll probably go through a round of changes to the existing CanJS website to improve it based on the feedback we've gotten, and then we'll do another round of user testing and kind of go through it again until we iterate on something that's really, really good.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments about it?
No, I'm just excited to see all the issues.
Yeah, it'll be fun to work through. Cool. Does anyone have anything else that they wanted to bring up today?
Yep, I don't think so.
Cool. Okay. Then that concludes our DoneJS contributors meeting. Thanks for everyone for coming and everyone who's watching. And talk to you guys later.
All right. Thanks, Jason.
Yep. Bye.
Thanks.